screen star, singer, dancer, civil rights activist, and spy. Josephine Baker was a multi-hyphenate talent who weaponized her status as a screen goddess to spy on the Nazis during World War II and smuggle the Allies vital information. And like her colleagues Paul Robeson and Eartha Kitt, she was targeted by anti-black sentiment in the US following the end of the war. Her legacy has been honoured by a whole new generation of multi-hyphenate black female performers like Beyonce, Tessa Thompson and Zendaya. Born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1906 to former slaves, Josephine Baker was always talented, but it wasn't until she arrived in France as a teenager that she began to experience the kind of success her talent deserved. Unlike her home country, where she had experienced racism and abuse, pre-war Paris was diverse and bohemian, and her star quickly rose thanks to her ability as a singer, dancer, and comedian, with her charismatic stage presence quickly turning into a legend, not just locally, but internationally.
My name is Nancy Denis, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I was on the set for The Great Gatsby, and because I went through the cattle call audition to be like the extras, background dancers, whatever, and then they were like, we have a more exotic role idea for you, said Cha Cha, and again, it was exotic, and I was like, you mean black, right? Because I've been like that my whole life, on most of it. Anyways, and they were like, oh, your character's based off Josephine Baker, and I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know who that was. And so I went home and I looked into her, like a deep dive, and I was like, oh my God, Josephine Baker is my dream. I'm like, I know that there's been rumors for the last probably 25 years that they're going to make a Josephine Baker movie, right? Which is great and awesome and cool. But I would say it's going to be difficult to find like an actress to portray her because she's just so multifaceted in terms of like her skills and what she's done. But I'm like, okay, whatever. Make as many Josephine Baker movies as you possibly can. Like, I actually think you should just make heaps. I don't care. Like, there's heaps of Nina Simone movies. There's heaps of Whitney movies. Like, just make a many movies. But I also am like, just like, you could also just do a TV series based off Josephine Baker, use any black woman, and just like do that because her life is amazing. I mean, she's like a comic book hero, but not. She's like a real life hero.
Josephine Baker was the first black woman to star in a major motion picture, the 1927 silent film Siren of the Tropics, and she became an icon of the jazz age and the roaring 20s. Her celebrity so big, she was one of the first to have her own range of products, ranging from cosmetics to clothing.
Her contribution to culture and the entertainment industry and the human race is so vital because so when she was at the peak of her career, you could buy Josephine Baker cream to make your skin darker. She was like one of the first and original people to have like the tanning idea so that you could look like it was called the Josephine Baker cream. Like, I have pictures of it. There was also a Josephine Baker like hair cream to make your hair dark like hers, and like so you could do her little curls and stuff. Like, what? And a perfume. She had a perfume line, a cream line, a tanning cream line, and like a hair line back then, bitch. Back during like the world was like technically povo. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like you had like, you know what I mean? She was like living that life. So there's that. So culturally, if you think of like where we are now with like influencers, bitch, she was the first influencer ever. She was making white people want to be black before the Kim Kardashians did it.
When World War II broke out, Josephine Baker weaponized her celebrity status to perform for high-ranking Nazi officials and learn about German troop movements. Information she passed on to the French resistance and allies via a variety of methods, ranging from invisible ink on sheet music to clipping codes underneath her costumes. However, when the war was won and Baker revisited her home country, she was shocked to see how little had changed for the rights of African Americans in the US. She refused to play in segregated venues, a move that forced the state of Nevada to change their laws because they were so desperate to have her. She was one of the few female speakers at the March on Washington, gave speeches at HBCUs around the country, and following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., was asked to be the new leader of the American Civil Rights Movement. Because of this, she was under constant threat from the KKK, was targeted by the American press, monitored by the FBI, and frequently had her working visas revoked, meaning that up until her death in 1978, at the age of 68, she was largely based in her beloved Paris. When she passed, Baker had been in the middle of a sold-out stage run, celebrating her 50 years in show business. More than 20,000 people attended her funeral, where she received full French military honours. As an artist and as a Black woman, Josephine Baker defied definition for her work in front of and behind the camera, and she inspired a whole new generation of multidisciplinary artists who are now thriving in the path she helped forge.